The 20th century is truly a remarkable century which has brought about more change than all the other centuries combined. And yet, strangely enough, the first years of the 20th century were dramatically different from the last years of the 19th.
As if to certify the passing of the old century, Queen Victoria herself, venerable symbol of the 19th century, died in 1901. Then everything seemed to change.
Picture for a moment a scene from the year 1900. It is summer and women are wearing long but lightweight cotton dresses. The men are in stiff collars and cuffs, and a straw boater is on every head. Picnic baskets abound, and bicycles. Bicycles not for the children, for they were much too complicated and expensive, but bicycles for the adults.
I wonder what it was really like in those days.
In the good old summertime, in the good old summertime.
Oh, darling, let's sit here under the shade of this splendid magnolia tree.
Just the spot to enjoy your delightful pie, Lily, my love.
Mother made the apple pie, but I prepared the spring chicken. She was quite the scrapper.
Here, allow me.
I'm glad we chose the bicycle over the streetcar today. Such a glorious spring day, and I'm feeling so gay.
Arthur and Nellie purchased one of those horseless carriages. That thing is so loud and ugly it scares the horses.
Yes, and it's so slow. It will never catch on. I like our bicycle much better. Needs no dirty, stinky petrol and doesn't have to be fed.
Speaking of bicycles, my cousin Frank told me some brothers who own a bicycle shop in Dayton are building an aerial flying machine.
Flying? I think they've been reading too much Jules Verne.
In the year 1902, Orville and Wilbur Wright produced the world's first successful glider. For centuries, man had dreamed of flying. Enormous distances separated peoples of the world. Once God enabled the advent of flight, our world began to shrink, and the gospel was on the threshold of spreading to every nation on earth.
At the turn of the century, the United States was predominantly a rural land, a nation of farmers, but that certainly changed during the 20th century.
Be back to breakfast in a couple hours, Mom. Gotta feed the chickens and put on the south food. Now, where'd I put that Sears and Roebuck catalog?
Kerosene lamps, outhouses, and sleeping on the porch on hot nights trying to keep cool. Can you imagine what life was like without electricity? We consider electrical power a convenience, but from God's perspective, it eventually helped further the gospel throughout parts of the world living in darkness.
Not only did technology modify our world at that time, ideas did too. Sigmund Freud, father of psychoanalysis, and Albert Einstein and his theory of relativity, along with others, were developing ideas in those first 20 years of the 20th century that affect us even today.
And think of the important events of that day, like the sinking of the great unsinkable floating palace, the Titanic. That was in 1912.
Dear Mother, by God's good grace I find myself alive and well. My dear Harold was not so fortunate. Please be at peace knowing he died a noble death, having offered up his seat on the boat to another. This selfless act somehow brings me solace. But now I keep asking God why. Why did Harold and so many have to die a senseless death? It was said of the great vessel that she would not, could not sink, and now it has come to light that there were simply not enough lifeboats. Is God judging the arrogance of man? The only thing to which I am certain is that it is simply by his mercy and grace that I am now able to put pen to paper and send you my love.
In 1913, the federal government was authorized to collect income tax. Wow, that's still certainly with us. And ladies, in 1920, women finally got the right to vote.
Yes, and on another positive note, Henry Ford made the purchase of automobiles available to ordinary people like you and me, the good old Model T Ford.
A tragic event occurred in 1914 in Sarajevo, the war-torn capital of Bosnia, that changed our entire world. Francis Ferdinand, the Archduke of Austria, was assassinated, which ignited World War I. In 1917, America was forced to enter the fray. As if the millions who lost their lives in that war weren't enough, the Spanish flu then swept the world, killing an estimated 20 to 100 million people. Over 500,000 of these were in the U.S.
With all that death and destruction, one might ask, why did God allow such devastation to come to our earth? We can all rack our brains with speculation, but one thing is certain in life, and that is that life is uncertain. It's interesting to note that most of those who died were strong young men between the ages of 21 and 40. God reminds us that we cannot trust in our own strength and wisdom. God was making it known that all this new science, technology, philosophy, or powerful armies could not save us. We must look to Him alone for our salvation.